Oh, maybe that's what it is, Jepson L. I'll bet it is.
Ashley.
Oh, the appropriation.
Yeah,
Okay.
not quite.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. Appreciate the district office folks and our board. It is Thursday, June 21st, 5:30, and we are having our board meeting. We have tonight Dale Hanson, Business Administrator, Terry Rhodes, Board Member, Jeff Nelson is excused. Is it Nelson or Nielsen? Anybody know?
I think it's Nielsen, isn't it?
Nelson?
Yeah.
Nelson? Okay. Alan Grunig, Board Member. I'm Kathy Christiansen, Board Member. Roger Pulsifer, Board Member. Steve Norton, Superintendent. Randall Bagley, Board Member. And Larry Grunig, Board Member. Oh, Larry Jepson. What did I say? Oh, my gosh, I'm on a roll.
Brother.
That's my other brother, Larry.
Yeah, that's right. Larry Jepson. Okay, we will begin with our Pledge of Allegiance, and Larry Jepson is going to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our mission is to educate students for success in a changing world.
Thank you. Okay, any
We'll see if
public?
the bus is pulled up. I'm sure it's coming. I'm sure they want to hear the budget.
All right,
They can take my place,
there is no public input, so we will go ahead and move down to the consent agenda, and I will take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as printed.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay, would everyone please vote?
Larry's, yours is the last one. Not getting anything there.
Oh.
Maybe we could have your brother do it.
I already did it. Dale just blanked me and I'll vote again.
I didn't.
It's just not popping up for him, so
Not popping.
he's a yay.
Good job.
Tim will tell us how we're going to vote.
Would you like to vote? Okay, I'll vote. All right, all the votes are in and unanimous in favor of the motion.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll move to the action agenda, and first is the request for the approval of the PTIF entity resolution. Dale.
We talked about this last week, or 2 weeks ago, I guess, was the state treasurer's office, or state auditor's office, actually is requiring now that all public entities that are involved in the state treasurer's pool have to pass a resolution by the governing board authorizing individuals to make transactions or to deal with their information in behalf of the school district. So I do have, I actually added Chris Osmond on there, who's my secretary. There's a semi-annual statement that has to be submitted that shows all of the investments and banks that we have from all of our schools in the district. And she's the one who's been putting that report together. And so for her to do that, we had to add her to the list. And so those names that are on there are mine and Scott Rigby's and Chris Osmond's. So we just need a motion of the board to approve the three of us to act in your
I make the
behalf.
motion that we approve the PTIF entity resolution.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
Yeah, Dale, does the board president need to be on there?
No, they're not, I mean, you're not actually.
I can't spend the money.
contacting the state treasurer's
Okay,
office.
but this is just the school district, it doesn't really impact the board with having somebody from the board on there?
I just sign up.
No, because actually the board authorizes us to do this, so
Okay.
that would be how they're involved, but, yeah, let me.
Thank you.
Just a second, for some reason this is not, oh, okay. Just a minute.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, when we can, we'll vote.
I got behind you here. So the motion was from Roger, right?
And Larry seconded.
There we go. And second was Larry? Okay.
Do you want me to vote twice this time?
All right. Hopefully you receive it now. Oh, it did come up.
It did come up that.
All right, so all the votes are in and unanimously in favor of the motion.
Okay. I will take a motion for an approval of the comprehensive guidance. Oh, wait a minute. Do you have to tell us anything first? Sorry.
No, we don't have to tell you anything, you moved right in. So we're just asking for the board's final approval on our annual comprehensive guidance program.
Okay. I'll take a motion then to approve the 2018-19 Comprehensive Guidance Program.
I move that we approve the 2018-19 Comprehensive Guide Program as it is listed. Second.
Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. I just have one question. I don't think it pertains to this, Mike, but is there anybody that we can talk to who might get the counselors' separation of their time they're supposed to spend more with students than other type of things? Or-
That's being talked at the state level right now at the state board.
Good. Okay.
That was part of their last discussion, board meeting.
Okay, thanks.
on it.
All right, I'll take a motion for the, no, let's see.
Actually, all the votes are in favor of the motion unanimously.
Okay, I'm going to slow down and not rush everything so fast.
Can you get somebody to work up a paper or give a report to the board about the program that was discussed at the council meeting that Cedar City was bought into, and classroom discipline of kids?
Okay, all right, Tim.
Okay, on this one, we discussed this last time we met in the study session. We're requesting approval in an amendment to the middle school curriculum policies that would include a standalone seventh grade health class that puts us in compliance with state requirements for that, so that we can provide the Botman prevention training in that course for seventh grade and ninth grade students. So,
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the middle school 7-8 course and academic requirements adjustment.
I move that we approve the middle school 7/8 course and academic requirements.
I second it.
Any discussion?
I have one question. In the document of the policy, there are three spreadsheet type things, and the third one is performing or visual arts course, 1 trimester.
correct.
But it's not listed as a required course. Does that mean it takes up one of the electives? And does that mean it can be either year?
Yes, it is a required course by the state, but they don't specify a year, so we left it out of the yearly requirements so they could take it either year.
And so then it will just use up one of their electives, either
Correct.
of those?
Well, it's not using one of their, yes,
Yes.
absolutely.
Because it has to, because everything else is,
Yes,
okay.
yep.
All right, thank you.
Tim, who's the training by?
It's Botvan. It's in the health department. I've been in contact with them. They're well aware. It's probably the most well-known curriculum for prevention training out
Do
there.
you remember what it is?
What's that?
Do you remember what the title of it is?
Botvan Prevention Training. BOTVIN, if you want to look it up. I didn't bring a form with it, but there's, I think, 8 lessons in the 7th grade and 15 in the high school, or vice versa. I can't remember which way that goes, but the health department were very encouraged that the state selected that curriculum because they said it's probably the most effective prevention curriculum out there. It's got a lot of research behind it.
I'm looking at the webpage for that company. Is it the life skills training?
It's the prevention training. It might be called life skills.
And it's Botman?
Botvin.
Botvin.
Botvin. It doesn't comprise the entire course, but it's now required by state law that is offered in a standalone health class, either 7th and 9th or 8th and 10th grade.
Oh, I see. They have a prevention program as well.
Okay, that is the life skills. Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. And the state's providing all the training to our teachers this summer and all of the materials for that. So it's at no cost to the district other than investment of time of our teachers to take the
May I
training.
go to that?
Absolutely.
That training?
Yeah.
If you'll send me some dates, then I'll,
Okay. And there's multiple dates to choose from, so,
but I'd like to be involved with that.
okay.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, we'll vote.
Mine didn't come up.
Okay. How would you like to vote?
Yes.
Okay. All right, all the votes are in and unanimous in favor of the motion.
Okay. All right, we'll go ahead and move to the request for approval of the negotiation agreements with CEA, classified and administrator groups. And who is doing that?
I would.
Okay.
Yeah, so we did review last time the negotiated agreements that we came up with the Teachers Association, Administrators Association, and the Classified Employees Association. And the basic settlement on those was a 3.5% cost of living increase placed on the salary schedule with a one-time salary augmentation that would be paid out in November. And then health and accident insurance benefits are basically the same, but have an 8% increase that the district would cover the cost of that 8%. And then there were a couple other small items depending on the group, but those are detailed online if you want to review those again, if you had any questions.
Okay, I'll take a motion to approve the negotiation agreements with CEA, classified and administrator groups.
I move that we approve those negotiations for the 2018-19 year.
Second.
Any discussion?
I have one question, which is the same question I had last year. Because the memorandum says that it's an agreement between Cache County Board of Education and Cache Educational Support Professionals. It doesn't say classified employees. But it's called classified employees on the agenda.
True. I know that they have changed their name. I think we're all still trying to become accustomed to it. I think even they forget they have a name change many times, but...
But the legal document
I see what you're saying.
says Cache Educational Support Professionals. So do we need to change something? Either the document or the agenda so that they match? Or do we not care?
We could, and we'd have to have just the document re-signed, created and re-signed by each of both the district side and the association side.
Wouldn't it be easier to change the agenda?
Yeah, I can easily do that. Give me the actual title of that. Instead of classified, we have, see, I don't even remember it again.
Cache Educational Support. Let me find it again. cash educational support professionals.
Okay, so the motion says, so the motion would then read to be approval of the negotiation agreements with CEA, Cash Education Support Professionals, and Administrators Groups
Okay. Do
for
we
the
have to,
2018-19 school year.
do we have to make a motion on that again?
Can't we just
The
amend it?
motion is not, in. I mean, it's whatever you set it
Do we
as.
have
So
to make
whoever
a new
sets the-
motion to change the agenda to that? Or are
Oh.
we okay?
I don't think there'd be a problem with the agenda. I think the
Okay.
official motion would be the important thing.
Okay, so do we have to say it again, or are we just good with the change?
I'd be glad to repeat the motion,
Okay,
which is approval of the negotiation agreements with CEA, Cash Education Support for Professionals, and Administrator Groups for the 2018-19 school year.
okay, I'll take a motion to approve that with the new title.
I approve the new title, or I make a motion to approve the new title.
Second.
Okay, any more discussion? All right, let's vote. Okay.
Dale, mine didn't come up again.
It's really odd.
So yes.
How would you like to vote?
Yes.
You have a cool blippy line next to your name on his screen that's waiting for you to vote.
Okay, so the votes are all in and unanimous in
Okay.
favor of the motion.
All right. Okay, would you all just go ahead and open up your board meeting document and look at it down on, we didn't really discuss this, but Carolyn asked me about this yesterday, and then she was out of the office. Go down to April's meetings, and those two meetings are scheduled a little bit differently because of spring break. So instead of having it April, whatever, I think 4th, and then April, whatever, the week before that, this is now the second week and the fourth week, and I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
And
It's
that
just-
also falls over into May. It does the very same thing to keep those 2 weeks apart from
Apart.
each other.
Yeah, so it does change our normal meetings on it. Yeah, so I guess after I've made the motion, or after you've made the motion and seconded it, if you want to discuss that at all, we can. If you're fine with it the way it is, then we'll just let it be. It's just April 11th, 25th.
But I'm not coming up in 2018.
Did you go to the schedule?
Meetings.
Yeah, the board meeting, which was the next thing on the agenda.
I went up to meetings.
Okay, all right. Everybody understand what I'm talking about there? All right, so I will take a motion to approve the board meeting schedule for 2018-19, which will have that discrepancy in April and May.
I make a motion that we approve the board meeting schedule for 2018
I
to
second
19
it.
school year.
Any discussion on that? Okay, let's vote.
Yes. Now, it showed the first two times, now it's not.
Okay,
Did anyone second?
Oh, I got yours now. Yeah, Terry seconded the motion.
Okay.
all right, are we good to go?
Well, Roger will give me a nod, which way you'd like to, okay, okay.
Okay, we'll move down to the reports then. Hope Squad and suicide prevention.
I actually have two more items there if
We
you'd
have the
like.
final,
Still
we
have
have the
the
budget
budget.
part.
Hey, wait, I don't have it.
6 and 7.
Good.
Oh.
She doesn't have it, so.
No, there we go. Okay. I
we're
just skimmed
done.
over- I skimmed over it. Just a little minor detail. All right, request for the approval of the proposed final legal budget.
Again, we reviewed the proposed final legal budget for the 2017-18 school year, and went through line by line those adjustments, but the total budget that we'd ask for approval totals $214,869,604, and that's the budget that will be measured on with our year-end audit and all the reporting that we have to submit to the state. So we'd ask for your approval to accept that.
Okay, I will take a motion to approve the proposed final legal budget for 2018.
I move that we approve the final legal budget for fiscal year 18.
I second it.
Any discussion?
Is this the one that's 9 million over what the original budget was? Is that right? The 214? Okay.
Okay,
Remembering most of that has to deal with fund balances added back in. There wasn't 9 million new dollars, so.
No, it wasn't, but I'm just saying that was in Dale's notes.
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, let's go ahead and vote.
Okay, all the votes are in and unanimous in favor of the motion.
Okay, and then the request for the approval of the preliminary district budget for the school year 2018-19.
Okay, I have given you a paper copy of the same report that's on board docs. So we reviewed this last year. This is the proposed budget for the new 2018-19 school year. The one thing we didn't have last time when we talked this through was the basic rate, property tax rate that every school district in the state is required to levy in order to qualify for all the minimum school program funding. And, anyway, the rate came in higher than we had originally anticipated. It was an estimate that I'd received from a meeting down with the state school board. But, so the basic levy actually comes in at 00166. If you were to look in your booklet behind the second green tab, it shows the property tax section in your booklet. It'd be like this.
Second green tag.
Does it have a page number?
It doesn't. Apologize.
Okay, I'm lost then.
Go to the second green sheet in the book, and right behind it.
Okay. Thank you.
We there? Okay, so the page right behind that then shows a comparison of each of the levies that we levied this current year, showing the rate that was levied and the dollar estimate of taxes that it would generate. And so you can see under the basic school levy, which is the very first one at the top, that rate has increased from a 001568 to a 001666, and will generate a little over $1.3 million of additional revenue, more than it did last year. That and the charter school levy are the only two rates that have actually increased from what they were last year. All of the rest of the rates have come down, and that's all based on having a larger tax base in the district or in the county to levy taxes against. And so in order to generate the same dollars as we had basically last year, the rate comes down for everyone. And the second sheet in there, second sheet will actually show a history of the property tax rates. And that one was not the one I was after, though. Maybe it's the one just before that. Where'd it go? Am I missing that page? Anyway, we had about an 8% increase in the assessed value of property due mainly to reevaluations of property in the county. And then there's yeah, 8.6% was the increase in the value of properties in the county. And we also had just under $167 million of new growth, of new property coming under the tax rolls first time for this year. That'll generate additional funding that we can claim and receive. So that's the only type of inflationary effect that helps us as a school district. But for all of the other taxes we're paying, the rate actually goes down, so we generate the same dollars as we did last year. But if you look at the sheet then that shows a property tax levy comparison, there's one that shows both 2018 and 2019 comparison. So it takes the average fair market value of a home here in the county is $235,358. Last year, the tax rate that we levied was a 008138, and so a homeowner of a $235,000 home would have paid $1,053.44 in property taxes for the levies that the school district levies. In 2019, in comparison, that same home levied at a total tax rate of a 007839 would only pay then $1,014.74. So it's just under $40 less per year that the average homeowner would pay for the same valued property last year compared to this year. And then where residential homes are taxed at 55% of the fair market value, business property is taxed at 100% of the fair market value, so they'll actually see a $70 decrease in the taxes they pay. So if the paper were here, we would say taxes are going down, people should celebrate. But the last page I have there in that section also then shows the schedule of our bonded indebtedness, where right now we're just over $156 million of outstanding general obligation bonds that we're paying off, and those will be paid off all by the year 2035. And as we talked last week, we still have another $120 million of additional bonding capacity if we were to go out for a property tax increase. That would be the amount that legally we could incur of additional debt if we can get voters' approval, after we get voters' approval, I should say. And so the actual budget that was shown in the very first part of that book, then I've made the adjustments for the property tax amounts and the rates those will generate. And so we're sitting then at the total budget that we would have been asking for approval for this new year is $195,682,902, which is just over $19 million less than the budget was last year. And the main reason for that decrease is paying off these large construction projects with general obligation bond revenue. So those are kind of one-time expenditures with one-time money. And so this brings us back to more of a traditional annual budget that we'll be operating with going forward pretty much. So.
Okay. So if somebody asks us how much do you have on your budget this year, it's about $138 million.
Yeah, 195.
95.
Oh,
Almost 200 million, yeah.
Put an orange.
Keep going over to page 7. If you didn't get to page 7, that's a total accumulation.
okay.
Yeah.
That's quite a bit more than we've had in the past, isn't it, for just the general?
Well, last year was 214 million.
less.
But
But-
was that with the building?
That's with the building, yeah, that's a big part of it.
Awesome.
So the 195 would be, well, really, we've completed basically all of the building that we had from general obligation bonds. So this represents a regular year, I think, of what a budget would
Without
be.
any bond money as part of the budget.
Correct,
Awesome.
yeah.
Okay, great.
So,
And what's the status of the new district office down there? Have we moved any, have we made any progress on that?
well, we currently have 4 employees that are down there, the pioneers taking the arrows, and
We check in every once in a while just to see if there's still air and water and food down there, but.
right now, the upgrading of a number of the rooms, we had to knock out a few walls, put some walls in, make a few changes that way, but that looks like that should be ready at least by the middle of July. So that's kind of where we're focusing on right now. That will take a large core of the employees that currently are here at the district office, would go down to the new facility. There are a number that won't be moving in until the second phase of the upgrade in that large call center area upstairs. I think there's about 20 different offices that they're looking to construct up in that area in the second phase, and also developing somewhere around 6 instructional training rooms that can be used together with a regular school board room that we would set up. And we went over today and observed how Box Elder School District has built a new facility there, just a year ago, I think, and so it does have, what was it, 4 training rooms, well, 3 that can all connect into one, plus a standalone school board room. They actually house their post-high school special ed program in the basement of the facility, and so they run a small little, they call it a bistro. Is it a bistro? Yeah, they call it the Bee-Bear Bistro. I have to say that slowly. That the special ed department runs there in their building there. So whenever they have training meetings, they can provide meals, and I guess they get a small profit over it. It's just a good chance for the kids to learn how to count money and work, and fits well in their program. It's a nice facility, and we got some good ideas, I think, of things that could be included in the development down there when that moves forward.
What's the status of this building?
Status of this is we are now finalizing, getting all the approvals through North Logan City from their engineers and their governing board and their city council to finally get the subdivision of, well, creating a separate legal parcel that this sits on, separate from the regular district office. And we should have that within this week or the first couple of days of next week. At that point, then we would be able to move forward in actively marketing the building and pushing that forward. Again, at this point, we're not looking to use a regular realtor at this point. We're going to use a couple of other avenues for advertising it. We feel like we have at least one potential buyer that's very interested, and so we will use the board's base bid amount that would be required in an auction setting, because we can't actually just try to negotiate with one individual buyer. We have to open this up and do it in a kind of a public auction arena, and so that we can now push forward and get moving. Same thing with Cash Eye. That's now to the point where we can, in fact, we are right now just notifying many of the adjacent landowners and business owners close to that site to see if they have any interest of expanding into there. But again, we'll use some other avenues to see if any other parties are interested. We found that a lot of the companies that are adjacent there don't actually own the land that their building sits on. They're leasing that. So most of those we've got to deal with a leasing company and see if they have interest in wanting to expand into that area. So that's,
Well, just a word of caution, when you put together the new boardroom in that new building, make sure you have it big enough, because we just pack them in here, and we want to make sure we have plenty of seating. for all
especially when the
people that
budget's being
come.
approved, yeah.
Yeah.
No, you're right.
And did we get access to, what is it, Second East?
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Okay.
There are areas down there that people could move into right now. It's not that, but what appears to be a downtime for the district is not a downtime for a lot of the offices here. So they are actually waiting until they get to a point where they feel like they can physically make the move and not hinder the programs that have to be completed. So that July 15th seems to be a date that we've set out there that hopefully some people will be ready to move down. We're waiting for a little bit of carpet in some areas, but it's not that the building isn't ready, it's that we're not ready to make the move. So,
thank you.
Are you interested at all in doing a ribbon cutting for that building?
yeah.
We're kind of off the topic here. Or would you prefer to downplay that?
We haven't had any discussion about having one, so, but there might be an appropriate date after, when the summer ends, that we could have just an open house. Yeah, let people come and see. I remember when North Logan did that for the police building. It was fun just to go take a look, and so we'll plan something, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything
Dale?
else, Dale?
Yeah, I'd maybe recommend that we wait until the second phase is completed so that it's,
Yeah, that's probably true.
because right now
And the
it's just
boardroom would
like
be
half the
there
building
and-
is all that's being
Yeah.
used, so.
Okay.
yeah.
An open house with hot dogs, because there's nothing that beats a good dog
That's right.
dinner.
With nothing but mustard available to put on, no ketchup
I have a question, Dale.
and German mustard.
When the two buildings are sold, are those funds restricted or unrestricted?
The ones that are tied to this building here, well, this building was built with general obligation bond funds. And so they are restricted in how they can be used. But as long as we use those funds in developing a building that will provide basically the same function that we'll continue to use there, then that's not a problem. Those that come from cash high, those would be unrestricted. They would still stay within the capital outlay fund, so they'd be restricted in that sense. But they're not tied to any specific project that they have to be spent under,
Okay.
so.
Okay. Are you done? All right, I'll take a motion to approve the preliminary district budget for the school year 2018-19.
I move that we approve the preliminary budget for the fiscal year 2019.
Second.
Any more discussion? Okay, we'll vote.
I logged out and back in, it still doesn't, so. Now it does.
Awesome.
What was supposed to have speeded up the process, I think is actually slow.
So all the votes are in and unanimously in favor of the
Okay.
motion. So.
Okay.
Thank you, Dale. As I looked this over, I didn't see any glaring things, and I thought, I hope Dale doesn't come up with any, so thank you.
All right, we'll move to the reports agenda now, and before we start, I just want to thank our district people for coming to the retreat last week. It's extra work for all of you, and Superintendent and Dale, extra work for both of you, but we had a really good discussion on a lot of things and learned some good information to help us be a little more educated about our jobs, and so personally, I appreciate that very much. I kind of like to know what I'm doing when people ask me about things, so that helped.
That always is helpful, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Okay, the Hope Squad and suicide prevention, and I'm not sure who's presenting anything on that.
I'm not sure how that got on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I was thinking that you were going to put something together and had done that when
Oh,
it
we have.
came up. Okay,
Yeah, I haven't got
all
that
right.
done yet.
let's go ahead then and move to the monthly financial report.
Maybe my thanks was too soon here.
We give the Reader's Digest abbreviation of the Reader's Digest story. Anyway, so this report would be for the period ending May 31st. We're sitting at 91.67% of the year completed, so we're winding down. In fact, now we're down to within the last 2 weeks of the year. So anyway, you had the report if you wanted to review it. We're looking good. Property tax collections right now, we've received 98.7% of the budgeted amount, where last year at that same point in time we'd only received 92.9% of the total amount that came in by year end. So those collections are coming in well. Interest rate earnings are well above where we were last year because interest rates have risen. And down on the expenditures section, looking mainly at salaries and benefits, it makes up about 95% of our general fund balance. In almost every situation, we're sitting well in comparison of the amount of budget spent this year compared to where we were last year at the same point in time, with just one last payroll here to go. So anyway, I think district again is in fine position. Don't have any real changes that I would need to bring out, I don't think, at this point. So I would leave it at that unless there's any questions.
Okay. Any questions?
How's that, Alan?
Okay. Next is our board committee report. We have had another meeting with the fiscal committee, and when this committee was organized, I kind of thought, you know what, we already do a good job of auditing, so why are we doing this? But this has been a really interesting and a good experience, and Alan and Dale have done a great job in helping to train our financial secretaries and principals and give them information that's consistent in every school. So Terry's going to report on what's coming up now.
Well, the report of the internal audit committee for the past year, what Alan Allred focused on Green Canyon and Ridgeline, since they are two new schools, to do testing on the individual program budgets within the school budget to see if any of them were going negative during the year or if they were staying positive and are keeping positive balances so that they weren't expending more than what they actually had in any of those programs. And his report to us in May, after working with Mitzi and Chris, who is it at Ridgeline? Christine. And looking at all of those reports, was that those two schools he has no concerns about at all, as far as the individual program balances within the school budget. So we were excited to hear that, because we have heard reports that sometimes those program balances are allowed to go negative, which we really don't want to happen. So those two new schools are in great shape, according to Alan. The most exciting thing that has come out of the audit committee, in my opinion, this past year, is the new online fee payment option that will be available to all the parents for this upcoming school year. And so that, I saw that on the disbursements that we paid for Marcia Brenner already, and so it should be up and running soon, and I'm really excited about that because so many parents have asked about that. So anyway, that was the other thing that came out of our internal audit committee this past year, and our August training will focus on 3 things. Alan Allred will do most of the training. Dale will help as well, training the high school principals and financial secretaries. And or I should say, high school administrators and financial secretaries. That is already scheduled for the first Wednesday in August, that meeting, and Alan Allred's pretty efficient. The last 2 years, it's only been a 1-hour meeting, so we try to not take up too much time, but the principals and the financial secretaries especially appreciate the opportunity to meet together and get a little bit of training so that they're all on the same page. This year, we'll focus on, Alan will focus on making sure that, just following up with this past year's testing, that funds must be in accounts, program accounts, before the money is spent. So that will be the main focus. And then why documentation must be done for reimbursement requests. And then talk about W-9s and I-9s, which is technical tax stuff. But anyway, so that will be our focus for our August training. And that's the end of our report for this year.
Thank you. Terry has been really instrumental in getting that online, what is it called?
Online fee payment.
Fee payment. I definitely, as a member of that committee, would not be one who is pushing that. Anything online just baffles me. But yeah, she's really worked hard to get that, and Dale has done a lot of homework and looking into to solve that situation, and I think parents are going to really be happy.
So does this include lunch, money, everything?
It's a one-stop shop thing where they go to one portal, they sign in, they can pay fees for any of their students in their family at any school, as well as lunch money. So they can go in one time, because there's a transaction fee associated with it. They can do, they want to do if I was a parent, I would want to do as much as possible with one transaction, or with each transaction, I should say. So they can do everything from one login, as school lunch, or lunch money, paying registration fees, paying class fees when trimesters change, anything like that. They can do it all with one login.
And then if somebody withdraws from a class, it also reimburses the money
Yeah, it reimburses
to
the,
the family.
yeah. And so the great thing for the finance secretaries is that this software works hand in hand with PowerSchool, so that the secretaries don't have to make their own reports from PowerSchool and then try and upload, or then try and hand enter fees or that need to be reimbursed, or fees that need to be paid, or whatever. It just all works together within the computer. So the financial secretaries, we hope it will save them some time after the initial pain of the startup.
First year might be tough.
Yeah.
The fact that this has been available at West Side School District for some years has caused some people to say, why can't we do it? And this is nice to be able to do it.
Yeah.
It's lovely that our district is moving into the 21st century finally.
That's great. Okay, thank you. Okay, as far as the board president report, I gave you a little slip of paper that has potential board goals. I don't think we really have to vote on them to put them in our handbook, but the one that, the two that were kind of changed is the first one. The Cache County Board of Education will focus on supporting policies and practices that promote student achievement in all areas. And then the second one, which was Larry's suggestion last week, the Cache County Board of Education will work on promoting an environment and overall climate in our district where students and staff feel appreciated and respected. So does that meet what you were talking about?
Yes.
Okay. And then the other two are the same. So I guess the proposal is that we add that second one in and kind of change the first one. I would appreciate your feedback on that, on these. Like them, don't like them? Okay. Sound like something we don't really have any way to measure. I know a goal should be measured other than to say, yeah, we're doing it. But
Well, the fourth one can be measured.
yes. And I guess to some degree, the second one with our local and state leaders can be measured a little bit by the things that we've been doing with the legislative luncheon and visit to the schools. Oh, and for Alan and Roger, who weren't there, we decided we'd do that again this year and invite all the candidates who are running to visit the schools, so they can see kind of what's going on in education even before they get in. So, Steve, on this, do we just say, okay, we like these and this is what we'll do?
Yeah, you can just they just become part of what you're.
Okay. All right, so we'll get those going, and I guess take this little slip and just tape it in your handbook for now, until we do a new printing. And then the second thing that I had was on July 19th, which is our cookout. Jeff and Alan are unable to come, so would August the 2nd or August the 16th work better? And I'll check with Jeff and see.
DC.
Okay, August 2nd, would August 2nd work?
That's a great date. It's a week after the Preston Rodeo.
You'll be in good spirits?
I'll be worn to a frazzle.
There you go, you could use a little relaxation.
Yeah, I can just relax.
Okay, that sounds great. And then,
So when are we gonna have our board meeting?
yeah, and then we'll have it right after about 6:30.
No, but I mean the July board meeting then. What are we gonna?
Oh,
Dale won't be here on the 2nd.
oh,
You won't?
If you're trying for 100%,
it'll never happen.
it's going to be tough.
Anybody else have a problem on the 2nd then? Larry, are you
What-
good to go?
When would you be available?
Would you be? We could do it at night if
I
you
mean,
want
yeah,
to do
could
it.
Are you here a week later?
On the 9th?
Yeah?
Yeah, we could do it when it's not.
Yeah, I'm good on the 9th.
What about everybody else? And then we just show up and have the cookout?
I thought you were in DC on the 10th and 11th, Alan.
We leave the 10th.
Oh, and then you're going all over the next week. Okay. I was confused.
Okay, let's plan on August the 9th, and I'll check with Jeff. And then everybody here can be there, correct? Okay, it's a little early to get assignments, but I just need some salads. If somebody would volunteer to do some, let me know.
We will.
You will?
I can do it.
Okay, so we've got them, Randall and Alan.
Is that all you need?
Yeah, I think Colette's done one every single time, so
That's
she
okay.
deserves a break.
So
Okay.
back to July then. Are we only having the one meeting?
On the 19th.
19th.
Yeah.
We're still gonna go with the 19th?
Well, do we have stuff that we need to do?
No, no, that's fine. Yeah.
If we do it, it'll probably be
Yeah.
a short one.
Yep, that's just fine.
Okay, so July 19th is the next one then, so enjoy your break.
Yeah.
All right, Superintendent.
Just thank you for the retreat, because we appreciate you donating your time too. And the only reflection I have is every year about this time when we go through the budgets, and it seems like, to me, we just did it. So that is, in my mind, a great reflection on the relationship we have in this district, because a year can be an awful long time if things aren't going well. And if there's contention and you don't have good board interaction and the board's trying to do something that's not policy and all those things, a year can be an eternity. And I haven't felt that way in years. So it seemed like to me, we just talked budget last year, and I reminded you of the Preston Rodeo last week. But we are going to bring all the superintendents. They alternate between here and Cedar City. It's our turn to have them here at the end of July. And hopefully this building will still be available. If not, we'll go to one of the high schools, the new high schools, and hold it. That's a nice opportunity. Then the next day, while the superintendents are still here, we have the legislative committee meeting meets in conjunction too. So on that day, Carol White and her husband provide a steak and a trout dinner. Best food the superintendents get all year, so.
What's the date of
And
that?
if you want to come, it's July 26th and 27th.
Is there anything you would like us to do at that?
You're welcome. I can say, if you want, if you would like to come and be a part of that, at least come for the dinner part, just tell Carolyn, and we'll make sure that Grant either has a steak for you or fish. Most new superintendents always go the steak route, and then they taste a little bit of the fish from somebody, and they're converted right on the spot. The next year, they always go for the fish. So this is fish that, for the fishermen who fish in this group, Americans judge fish by the fact that it's not fishy. And this trout is raised in crystal clear water, fed the very best food, and then cooked in butter, covered with a secret coating. Brother, heavy on the brother, is just salivating over here.
Butter.
Yeah. So,
When is the JLC part of that, those
the
meetings?
Friday,
Okay.
yeah.
What time, do you know?
It goes in the afternoon.
Steve, will you just send us a schedule?
Yeah,
of
yeah, we can do that.
What's happening when?
Yep, yep.
You're interested in going to some of it, are you, Alan? I don't know what it's about, but I would like to.
Well, the superintendent's is just a regular superintendent's meeting. Then the JLC comes, and it's just one of their regular meetings where you could kind of get an idea, not have to travel anywhere, what they're talking about for next year's legislative session.
Where do you have the dinner?
When?
Where?
Right here.
Oh, you're having dinner
Yeah.
here? You're not going out to Paradise?
No, he just brings everything right.
And so you eat in
We're
this
about
room?
the last people that they do it for.
Do you want any music?
Oh.
Superintendents. I have connections.
That rockin' superintendent band?
No, I already told them they can't play in the valley. And I was
I'm
with,
thinking of Mike.
I was with Scott
Volunteering him.
last, technology conference, and that superintendent's rock band is on tour. I says, well, we're not having you. And I said, until you get more country repertoire in, well, we're not having you. And I hurt his feelings, but we would love to have Mike if we, let me see when it'd be best.
Get back with me and let me
Okay,
know.
all right. That would be a treat, yeah.
Probably just as background music.
Yeah.
Okay.
mhm.
All right.
Oh, if he'd like to give a concert. I mean, I have tried to provide entertainment to these guys when they come here. So we've had some wonderful entertainment. But if he would come and,
He has a duo with Eric Nelson,
Yeah.
and they do a really great job for a concert, which I think that age group would enjoy. But also it's just nice to have you.
What is she saying about you?
They're older. I guess there
They're
are some young
not.
superintendents.
Cody Hughes is
there are
very
some,
old.
there are some younger.
Well,
people.
just let me know what you're
Yeah.
interested in.
Oh,
if you are.
I would
handing
love
out.
to start off with 20, 25 minutes with just the soups, if they would come and play, so
Okay.
test that out. That would be
Love that.
that would be the Thursday,
The Thursday.
yeah. And then, if I offered him a steak, if he'd just come back and give background music
Yeah.
during the dinner,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, this is getting better all the time,
Yeah.
yeah,
All right.
all right. And once again, thanks. I hope the years go by as fast for you, but I mean, they just seem to fly by. Yeah. Little bumps along the way, but boy, I'll tell you, not bad.
All right. Anybody have anything else
Yes, I'd like Jenda to report on her foot.
on her foot? Oh.
Do I have to touch the microphone? I just sprained a muscle. Good. Thank you, though.
Thank goodness it wasn't your hand.
I know, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's awesome. But
And
again,
Jen, Gary really thanks you this evening in the parking lot. So
Okay,
thank
Mike.
you from Gary.
August 13th is
our administrators in service. You're always invited to. It's a day-long training, and it'll be a rich line of curriculum.
We'll send you that schedule
Okay.
too.
Yeah,
Is
just-
that where you're
just
going
get us
to
out to
help them
us.
do their plans, or is that another time?
This is just a general get back in the saddle
Oh,
meeting.
okay.
Could you have, it was really great when Carolyn sent us the upcoming events
For
for
the
the
year.
next 6 months or whatever, or for the next fiscal year. Could you just have her do that again? And include those things on it? That would be really great.
Hey, Mike, David Watkins said that he was interested in coming to one of the counselors' meeting and getting input from the counselors on the SHARP survey. Has he touched base with you at all? What's your thought on that? We've tried to make things a little simpler for them in carrying out that survey, but it was suggested to him when we met that maybe he talked to the counselors and see what would make it easier for. Okay.
Yeah, Steve, did you get that information I forwarded you about the YRB?
I have, you might, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
Was it an email?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I-
It's awfully boring, but it explains why that YRB is important,
Okay.
that we had such a hullabaloo about.
What's
last time.
YRB?
Youth risk behavior.
Is it coming, is this a year again?
Yeah, this will be coming up.
Okay. Oh,
Are they going to have the same questions?
Probably.
Okay, so,
But it explains why those questions are there.
okay, so what are we going, we probably need to put that on some kind of agenda and talk about it then.
It won't be out until February, but
Okay.
it's coming.
do the secretaries or the counselors, or are they in charge of that, or how's that?
No, that'll come from the state. And it'll come from the state health department tied in with the SHARPS. They're two different surveys.
Yeah,
But they'll be given the same day with some students taking one and others taking the other, and can opt in, opt out. You know, but as I looked at that, it made a little more sense on why those questions were there. And so it's something that we need to take a look at and see.
yeah. Because it got us in a whole bunch of press last time.
But 90% of the people supported this. It was the 10% vocals that.
Oh, I'm aware of that. I'm just, yeah. So, yeah, I think it would be really great if we could get a copy of the survey and let you look at the questions.
Well, I think if we wanted to do that, let's get Diana to come up
Okay.
and talk to us about it.
Will you run that for us and see if you can get her to?
Yeah, I'm not working down there anymore.
You aren't?
I'm retired.
Should
Well,
I
for
call?
crying out loud, we didn't get a retirement party?
Last Monday,
No?
there was a retirement party down there, but
No, okay. If you wouldn't mind just being the contact person and see if they'd send somebody up. Yeah. I don't want to go through that again,
Yeah,
you
maybe.
know? So,
Okay, anything else, anyone? All right, thank you, everyone. Appreciate all that you have done on the board this year, and take a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
And we'll be back on the 19th for.
we've had a lot of time together. This will be a little bit of a separation,
Yeah.
trial
Okay.
separation.
What if I have anxiety?
Huh?
We'll give you something here at the district office.
What
you
if
can
I
do.
have separation anxiety?
then Terry, jump on your bike and go for a ride.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned.
How's your father doing? Talk about separation.
He's had